Okay, hello. This is Masa Kinoshita, Earthquake Research Institute again. So this is a series of video. I'm trying to make conversation with the visitors at ERI here. I think this is maybe fourth time, fifth time of this interview things. I mean the conversation things. All right. So let me introduce the visitor from India, Sreetama-san.
Hello,
Yeah.
everyone.
She is actually leaving very soon. When are you leaving?
Yes, I'm leaving on Sunday, 30th of June.
So you only have 2 days, like
Yeah,
today, tomorrow, so
today
that's
is,
it.
tomorrow
Not
is
too
my
bad.
official last week.
How long did you stay this time?
Yeah, I stayed for 1 whole year.
1 whole year.
Yes.
So you came last June?
I came last June. I actually remember I arrived on the 30th of June, and I straight came to ERI from the airport, and I met Teruhara-san and many others at the international office. So that's my official joining date.
Okay.
Then
1 year. So you experienced the whole annual sequence in
yes,
ERI.
I saw all the lovely seasons in Japan and all the events hosted all year round in ERI.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So starting from your research things, who is your host researcher? Who took care of you?
Yes, I was hosted by two professors actually. So
Okay.
I was hosted by Professor Yusuke
Aoki-san.
Aoki-san and Professor Junichi Fukuda-san.
Okay.
So initially I had contacted Aoki-sensei for the position, and he accepted me, and after the acceptance from ERI,
Okay.
I was informed that I would also be I would officially be hosted by another person, because I think I joined a little late. I think I was slated to join earlier, say in March or something, but I had not yet defended my PhD in India
Yes. Okay.
at that time. So, and because this is the PhD is mandatory for this visiting
Yes.
position.
Actually, that's true.
Yes, yeah. So I needed to wait, and it was very kind of you and the administration to wait for me to join, and then that is why I was also officially under Fukuda Sensei's.
Okay, sure. All right. So speaking about your PhD, what was your title theme of your PhD in India? Right?
Yes, in India. So I finished my PhD from the University of Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Yes, and I am actually an experimental structural geologist. So that's my specialization per se.
Wait, do you say experimental
Structural geologist.
Doing what?
So
What
yes,
do you mean?
I mean that I was actually performing experiments, exhaustive experiments in the laboratory at the crustal scale and at the lithospheric scale, simulating certain tectonic conditions.
What kind of experiment did you do?
Yeah, so we were running these models where we had the crustal layers.
Are you talking about the sandbox model thing?
Yes, sandbox
okay.
models. Yes, sandbox models, but of course, keep not only for localized deformation, but also for continuous ductile structures. So because the Himalayas, the northeastern part of the Himalayas is very close to the city where I live and my university, Calcutta. So we could access different parts of the Himalayan terrain often and look at many ductile structures that sort of to us, to our group, they have remained unexplained despite so much of progress in research. So we wanted to look into how these structures are being developed in the time scale. So we started scaling down the material properties of the crust over there, and also the time scale, because in the laboratory that is a huge matter of constraint.
Okay, that's interesting.
So we started modeling like that, and that's how I developed my PhD project. It wasn't very developed when I started out, but building on the experiments, eventually I had chapters regarding certain structures that I studied in the Himalayas. So that's how my PhD was devised. And I also, during my tenure in Calcutta as a PhD student, I also was very lucky enough to get a facility access program in Europe at Utrecht University in the Netherlands. Yes, and that's where I worked at the Earth Simulation Laboratory. So most of my experiments that I've also done in the later half of my PhD were performed at Utrecht.
I see. Okay.
In ASL, and we also have a few papers that have started coming out now from that collaboration. So yes, so that's how that's what I was working on. And because the Himalayas is a convergent collisional tectonic regime, so I I'm very interested about collisional tectonic regimes,
Mhm.
and the Zagros in Iran is a very good example of a continental collision, which is at the same time very seismically active. So that is how I connected with Aoki Sensei, because here at
Okay.
ARI everybody is talking seismology and earthquakes, and of course, why not? So that's how I thought, given my background and given Aoki Sensei's
Yeah.
extensive background in geodesy and volcanology, we thought we could come to a common point with my expertise from experiments regarding continental structures,
Mhm.
collisional structures, and of course also look at it from another perspective, which is geodesy. So coming to which my project here
I see.
is
Okay. Mhm.
based on surface deformation that is studied from radar satellites. So the satellites will send out radar waves, and then there is diffraction at the Earth's surface. The signals go back, and for the same region we have photographs that are mapping the changes in surface structure.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I am currently analyzing those from the Zagros, all over the Zagros. The Zagros is a huge belt, so it's around
Zagros, right?
yes,
Mm.
from all the way from Turkey to the southern part of Iran,
Okay.
up to the Iran-Pakistan border, where we have the Makran subduction zone. So it's a huge belt. So with Aoki Sensei and Fukuda Sensei
Mhm.
here at ARI, I am looking at the entire Zagros with respect from the perspective of satellite images, and we are studying the different areas to see what sort of surface deformation
Okay.
has happened
Mhm.
there in the past, say, 7-8 years, because we're trying to look at, because there are a lot of earthquakes there, so we're
Yeah.
trying to look at the gaps
Mhm.
to see interseismic deformation
Mhm.
and see if we can gauge something about the rheology of the area
Mm.
in those time frames,
Mm.
and then probably see if they can be correlated with other similar
Okay.
collisional terrains, like, say,
All right.
the Himalayas.
Can I just step back a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
During your PhD thesis,
Yes.
you study area of the Himalaya in
Yes.
the deformation
Yes.
using also the field observation and the sandbox experiment.
Yes. Yes.
What did you find as this PhD thesis?
Oh yes, so there are, like I said, we were very intrigued by the ductile structures we saw.
Okay.
But say, the lineation structures that
Mhm.
are often formed but are not preserved or not very conspicuous in all outcrops along regions. So we see folded structures, huge
Okay.
folded structures,
Mhm.
but there are certain structures like L-tectonites that are signatures of constrictional strain, but they are not often found. So they are like these column, like you could say they are cigar-shaped structures
Mhm.
that are formed by the flow. Say, suppose we have an orogenic belt, we have a
Mhm.
huge mountain, and then we have topographic differences which will lead to the flow of material
Okay.
because of the
Flow,
difference in
Mm.
potential gradient, and we can see certain strain accumulations
Mhm.
there, which could lead to localized constrictional deformation fabrics, which are very
Okay.
often not found in outcrops. So we started actually looking into the process of how these constrictional fabrics may develop, and why do we often not find them, because all over the world, wherever they have been reported, they are
Mhm.
only in the interior of the mountain belts. They are not
Okay.
along the
That's
foreland.
interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So we started looking into that, so how these structures were forming, and then we started looking into accretionary wedge geometries and how they can differ, and then how accretionary wedge geometries can in turn alter the potential localization of faults that could be seismogenic
Yeah.
also. And then we started looking into large scale ductile folding structures, like what do we see in the Zagros, be it for collisions that are orthogonal or with an oblique component where there is slip partitioning again.
Okay.
So, and then we also started looking at mountain collapse or gravity collapse structures and how they develop, but all emphasized with respect to flow or ductile regime, not just localized faulting that is just affecting the region.
Okay. So what you said is you find some peculiar ductile evidence
Yes.
in this your field in India,
Yes.
in Himalaya things,
Yes.
and you would like to clarify how this ductile or elastic thing behavior
Yes.
is,
Generally.
how and why things,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Then you thought maybe the Zagros, Iran,
Yes.
is the next best good
Yes.
field
Yes.
because the Zagros field is dominated by this brittle deformation.
No,
Is that what you say?
No. Sensei, in Zagros we find a lot of what they call the whaleback or the humpback fold structures.
Okay.
And there are lots of anticlines and synclines.
Anticline,
and
yeah,
lots
sure.
of
Folds.
traps for oil. So the Zagros,
Yeah.
there is a lot of debate as to how the Zagros has evolved. There are
Okay.
a lot of works on it as well. But then if we just look at it from the perspective of dominance of ductile deformation,
Okay.
then my fold structures are very comparable to how the Zagros
Oh, okay.
is evolving.
Okay, I see.
Especially the eastern part of Zagros, the Fars arc, which is a huge convex Forlan margin, and the rate at which its curvature is changing. There is a lot of work with respect to tools like GPS data and slip vectors and everything. But
Okay.
so what I feel is that the dominance of ductile deformation in most of these continental collisional belts is often overlooked. So we need to emphasize, because it is constantly giving out a lot of indicators as to how certain structures may have evolved. And also the Zagros is a part of the same alpine Himalayan origin.
Yeah.
So because of the Neotethys closure, Arabia-Eurasia collides.
Yeah.
And it's very new, like 25 to 30 million years ago.
Okay.
The
Okay.
collision happened. So it's very essential that we look into it, because it's very seismically active as well. So there are a lot of earthquakes also happening at the same time as
Alright.
the evolution of these structures. So if there can be a bridging between the two,
Okay.
deriving insights from my experiments and looking at everyday data that can be provided by INSAR or radar images, then I think we can come up with something
Sure,
as to
sure.
what's controlling the deformation kinematics.
Well, yeah, maybe so. I understand that the importance of comparing the Himalaya and Zagros thing, because it's basically aligned together.
Yes.
So, and I see that it's kind of important to at least discriminate how this deformation is made in the ductile, brittle, or other ways.
Yes.
Do you think that maybe I should not be very long? Do you think it can be resolved by making the satellite geodesy things? Can you describe this deformation is dominated by brittle deformation versus ductile things?
Maybe not that, but with very shallow deformation, we
Mhm.
can get some very significant results if we compare with INSAR. But with the deeper ones, it is not
Of course
very
not,
easy.
but even so, how do you using the satellite geodesy
Yeah,
INSAR things?
Yes, we get the time series and displacement data,
Yeah.
which is going to show us the time series of, say, I am analyzing over a period of a decade, say, for example, if
Yeah.
the resolution is a decade. So what I can most certainly see the localized deformation. So if there has been a thrust or a faulting event, then I see the dip in the time series.
Okay.
And because of my seismic repository, I already know that there was an earthquake which was triggered by this fault, so I know
Okay.
that. But
Alright,
capturing
alright.
the ductile deformation is not very easy from the time series
That's
data.
what I thought. Yeah,
Yes. So, but there is a lot of field evidence also from different transects in the Zagros. There are a lot of cross sections of the Zagros. So, if we can compare with what is there in the existing data,
Yeah.
and we can analyze the components, maybe we, objectively speaking, maybe not quantify between how much of ductile or how much of brittle.
Difficult anyway. Yeah.
But maybe just qualitatively analyze what is
Yeah,
possibly
sure.
controlling the
Right,
rheology
right,
of the
right.
region.
Okay.
And that's how probably assess.
Okay. Well, that's good. How did you find Aoki-san?
Ah, okay.
How-
that's a very nice story that involves you,
Oh.
because when I started, when I was looking, I was aware of this ERI. Maybe I should go a little, a few years behind.
Okay.
And I was here as a Sakura student, not here at U Tokyo, but I was a Sakura student at Kanazawa University back in 2015. And we had the privilege of visiting the ERI for 2 days, and that was when we found out about this wonderful ERI visiting researcher fellowship thing. But then I was just a master's student at that time.
You
Master
are,
student,
okay.
yes. And then I started doing my PhD, and once I was nearing the completion of my PhD, and I obviously wanted to look for positions or
Yeah.
whatever. So I thought, why not give this a try? So then, and because I was working on ductile flow models and things in the laboratory, I actually first sent you an email because I know you work on COMSOL and flow modeling. So
Did I say that?
no,
Oh.
I found that out from the website
Oh yeah.
and
sure.
your CV, of
Mhm.
course. And then I had written to you, if you would be willing to help me with some modeling, and that is when you said you referred me to some other people here at
Maybe I
URI.
said that. Yeah.
Yes, and you said, and Aoki Sensei was one of them. So
Mm.
you said you. So then I started looking up all the suggestions that were given by you, and then Aoki Sensei was the person closest to my specialization who I felt
Oh,
I
that was
could
good. Yeah.
approach. So then I sent him an email, and he
Mm.
was very gracious enough to reply, and we connected over Zoom. So, and that is how
Okay.
this
good.
came to be. So yes.
All right. So it was kind of a coincidence that you didn't know what is going on ERI, but you came here like 2 days during your Sakura Science
Yes,
visiting.
yes, yes,
Okay, that's good.
yes.
I see. All right.
Yes.
I know Aoki-san is so outspoken, so he's inviting basically anyone.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
I think you worked very hard.
I tried because it was something new to me also, because
Yeah.
this when I started analyzing, the software was new to me, the process, the
You-
tool, everything was
Did you
new.
have experience to deal with the inside data before?
No, this was my
So the
first
first time. Oh,
Yes.
that was good.
So
Okay.
I came here, I started looking up the literature, and
Mm.
I would meet both my host professors
Mm.
once a week.
Mhm.
All three of us met together at
Oh, good,
Fukuda
good.
Sensei's
Mhm.
office, and so generally students, when they meet, they have a lot of progress to share. But when I would meet them, all I had was, Sensei, I have read these two papers and I find this very confusing. I don't understand this. Can you help me with this part in the program? Can you
Okay.
help me with this in the software? So this was it. And then 7-8 months into it, I was done with all the analysis, 72 frame IDs, and I had finished analysis
Mhm.
only with lots of help from my supervisors. I mean, they were never impatient, and I was totally new to it, and I was asking questions just like a clueless kid would ask,
Okay.
if introduced to something new. But yes, I mean, and of course, this is a lot of work, so this is
Mhm.
going to be a work in progress. I do not really have very conclusive results as of now, but I'm very certain that I'm gonna have it in some time from now.
Okay.
So because and now it's time for me to leave ARI, but then we stay connected, and I keep on.
Do you have confidence that after coming back to India at the next career, can you do by yourself about analysis of INSA or the geodetic things?
Yes.
Now you learn, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's good. That's
Yes.
good. That's
Yes.
good. All right. Okay. Interesting. So, do you or with Aoki-san and Fukuda-san, do you have any plan to make some papers? Or
Yes,
some-
yes, we do, provided I can come up with some very conclusive results on
Mhm.
what we are doing.
Okay.
So right now it's somewhere midway, you could say, with all the analysis done. Now I am
Sure,
using
sure,
the
sure.
scripts to look at all the data that can be derived
Mhm.
out of the analysis, and then probably start comparing and looking and see what we
Yeah.
are coming up with.
Yeah. Okay.
Something.
So your advantage is you are kind of familiar with that local geology, Zagros or Himalaya thing.
Yes.
So
yes.
adding this new INSA
Mm.
knowledge with the help of Aoki-san and Fukuda-san, maybe you can make. I mean, you both, all of you can make a good,
Yes.
nice paper. I hope.
Yeah, I hope so
And
too.
that should be helpful for your next career
Yeah,
anyway.
sure.
All right. Okay. Good. All right. It's kind of thank you for your talk about because I learned a lot during this talk about what you're doing about geodesy, ductile things. It's a source of trouble, ductile. I don't understand what is. All right. Speaking to the life. All right.
Yes.
So you stayed just 1 year, which
Yes.
is not long enough, but
Mhm.
you even so you experience a lot of good experience or not so good experience. Can you start with a
Mostly
Good,
good.
good.
I have had all good actually.
like what? Yeah.
So the best part is I have the best part I would say is we all know Japan is a very beautiful country, but I got to experience it firsthand, many parts of it, of course, thanks to many field works that were organized by the international office. So the first field trip that I was a part of was organized for the Sakura students of that year, and all the international visitors like me were invited to be a part of the group. So we visited the Izuoshima Islands, and you were there with us, and we were also guided by Maino Sensei, yes, and we went to, I think, Mount Omuroyama, the volcano, the crater, and we could climb up Mount Omuroyama. So it was the first for me climbing up a volcano, even though it's dormant now and totally it's green and beautiful. But yes, so that was the first for me, and then we crossed the ocean to go to Izuoshima, and then we're looking at the Philippine Sea plate, and we're looking at the Pacific plate and everything. And then we got to see all sorts of lava textures, which were a first for me in the field scene. I mean, I've never been to a field area where we saw all of this up close and everything. So that was a very memorable first time trip. And then Aoki Sensei was very kind enough to invite me to a GNSS campaign. That was also a first for me, and it happened in Hokkaido.
You did?
Yeah, it was organized by the University of Hokkaido, and people from students from all over Japan were a part of the campaign. So I think it was about 50 or 60, maybe more.
Many.
Yes,
really?
And we were divided into groups, and we were guided by, it was just random groups every day, so we could mingle with each one of the participating group, and it was a week-long thing, and I got to experience how the GNS, how they demarcate the stations and where they are installing the machines and all of it. So it was a very good opportunity.
Good for you.
Yes, wonderful. And then, of course, many other trips organized by the international office again, Miura Peninsula, if I remember correctly, and then Fuji, Hakone, and the Owakedani walking tour, circling Fuji and seeing the fumaroles.
Yeah, sure.
So lots of field trips to explore and see, because Japan is also geologically very rich. It has so many structures. And the one thing I experienced in Japan is earthquakes now and then happening, shaking the buildings, be it here or be it at my lodge.
Did you feel some?
Yes, I felt quite a few. The 1st January Noto Peninsula earthquake was the one which was I think the highest magnitude one ever since I came here. So yes, but I know there are meticulous precautionary measures, so there was nothing to be scared of, but it was any first very remarkably memorable first for me. But yes, and of course people at ERI have been very good to me. They've been very helpful to me, and I can't lie, I have to be entirely honest that I really don't have not so good memories at all. But of course, like, if I have to say something, then I would say initially language was a bit of a barrier for me. But then I did get an opportunity to take a semester course at the UTokyo, the Nihongo Center. They taught us the language, the very basics of it, so that I'm not completely awkward. I mean, with Google Translation and internet connection everywhere, it's easy to understand or maybe translate, but sometimes it could be a difficulty in certain situations. So yes, language is a bit of a barrier if somebody is not acquainted with it, like I wasn't at all. But no, I mean, I did overcome it, and thanks to the I think the international office is very, very well equipped with great staff, and I think they are irreplaceable. And everybody that I've met in my 1-year tenure has interacted with some staff member or the other from the international office, and that is all they have to say, that they are extremely helpful. So if whatever I needed, I could just come down to the international office and just ask for it, and it got done. So I don't really have complaints, and I'm gonna this was a great opportunity, actually. Straight coming out of a PhD, this was a continuity in my employment, which was great anyway, not just for my CV, but it was a very enriching experience. I mean, I can't lie and say otherwise.
Thank you very much. We are trying our best, but we should keep trying even more. But your advice, as well as others, are really helpful. Yeah, sure. So I believe you enjoyed your stay here. So maybe I should ask before about, do you have any, what is your schedule, or what is your life plan onward? from now after here?
Yes, I I applied for the JSPS here with Aoki Sensei as my host. So I am looking forward to the results of the.
You're still waiting.
Yes, I'm waiting for it because I think it's due sometime in August. So I know it's very competitive, but then nonetheless we must keep trying. So that is one thing that I'm looking forward to in Japan.
Okay.
And in India, I am also applying for something similar, a contractual research position, but of a longer duration, around 5 years or so.
Okay.
As of now, because right now there's a lot of there isn't really many suitable opportunities that I can.
It depends, but yeah.
Yeah, it depends. So I know because I have to write my own project. I prefer not to diversify much and start applying everywhere. I plan on doing one at a time. So right now I'm just applying for that and waiting, or else just in general looking for a new job.
All right. So you're applying for in India. You're applying for position at the university.
Yes, this is an independent position which you can opt for in any institute or university in the country. The project needs to be approved. So once the project is approved,
so it's project oriented.
Project oriented.
Really?
That's written by
interesting.
me. So I have a budget for 5 years and I have a contingency for 5 years. So I can use it and I can just collaborate with people wherever I know them and just do it on my own, and I get to choose the institution. That's the best part, but it's extremely competitive, it's interdisciplinary and a lot of complications, but nonetheless I am trying my best.
Yeah, all right. So the chances, if you wait like the one or 2 months, you may be awarded by JSPS.
Maybe
things.
Yes.
But okay, so you're waiting for the result in India, applying for another project in India.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. If it is successful, the SPS, you will become back like when?
I think the earliest
Soon.
I can join is September.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, very soon. So I hope we can see you very soon. Yeah.
I hope so too.
All right. So maybe it's long enough for this one, and please keep in touch.
Sure, Sensei.
Yeah.
It will be a pleasure.
And you can spread your words back in India.
Sure.
Yeah. Even if it's not a very good one, but we want get more voices.
Yes.
Sure. And I personally think that India is one of the very important countries that we should think about the collaboration. In the geoscience field, even geoscience field. All right. Oh, okay. So I think maybe this is good enough. Thank you very much, and safe trip back to India.
Thank you so much.
And waiting the waiting for your good results.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Japan
Sensei.
or India, whatever. Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. This is the end. Thank you very much. How long was it? 30 minutes?